Welcome to the Bookshop at the End of the Internet, a podcast dedicated to helping book lovers discover new authors. Just like your favorite neighborhood bookshop, this show is a place to explore, find hidden gems, and meet new writers from every corner of the publishing world. Feel free to browse around and discover a new favorite book at the Bookshop at the End of the Internet. I'm your host, Stacey Horan, author, book lover, and your guide to great conversations with some amazing writers. This is episode number 276. If you enjoy the show, please take a moment to leave a review, follow along on social media, and share the podcast with fellow readers. A quick note from me before we get started. I've been busy with my own writing lately, currently in the editing phase of a new manuscript. And as always, I'm hard at work on the podcast to bring you more conversations with talented and interesting authors. If you'd like to explore my books, check out prior episodes, follow along on social media, or join my newsletter, all of that lives on my website, staceyhoran.com. On today's episode of the Bookshop at the End of the Internet, I'm joined by author Mima Tipper to discuss her latest novel, Channeling Marilyn, a heartfelt and hilarious young adult paranormal comedy. This novel follows high school senior Lexa Donovan, who's tired of feeling like a supporting character in her own life. So when the tall, plus-sized teen unexpectedly lands the role of Cherie, the sexy showgirl, in her high school's production of the play Bus Stop, she's shocked. After all, the role was immortalized by none other than Marilyn Monroe in the 1956 film adaptation. But Lexa's biggest surprise is still to come. Before she can talk herself out of the part, Marilyn Monroe's ghost appears and offers to become her personal acting coach. What follows is a whirlwind of awkward rehearsals and laugh-out-loud moments as Lexa tries to navigate high school theater, accompanied by the spirit of a Hollywood legend. In this episode, Mima and I discuss her writing journey, why she believes Marilyn Monroe continues to fascinate audiences decades after her death, and how reimagining the ending of a cultural icon's story became a powerful way to process her own grief. All that and more coming up next. Mima Tipper, thank you very much for joining me today on the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me and welcoming me back. It's great to be here.
Yes, you are a member of the Two Timers Club, as I like to call it. So this is your second visit to the podcast. And today we're going to talk about your brand new book, Channeling Marilyn. Can you tell us a little bit about this book and what inspired you to write it?
So, Channeling Marilyn tells the story of high school senior Lexa Donovan, who longs to be more than a bit player in her own, what she considers very drab life. So when she's chosen to be part of her school's spring production of Bus Stop, she thinks, wow, my dreams have come true. This is going to be great. And then, her excitement quickly turns to panic when she's tapped to play the leading role, sexy showgirl Cherie. And, Lexa is tall and plus size, and she just knows for sure that she is the exact opposite of the most famous Cherie ever, which is sex goddess Marilyn Monroe. So she wants out of this play immediately, and then something really wild and unexpected happens when the spirit of Marilyn Monroe appears, ready and willing to be her personal acting coach. And, I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but, lots of high school theater mayhem and magic ensues, and there's a little bit of romance. And, before the curtain rises on opening night, both Lexa and Marilyn will have to, learn to really trust their own hearts to kind of what I call move forward, to find what they really need to move forward in life and in death. So that's the summary of the book. And what inspired me to write it was, all right, so I just remember this so distinctly. Many years ago, I did not write this book in a year. I was sitting in the kitchen with my then middle school age daughter, and somehow we'd received a hard copy of Teen Vogue magazine. So, my daughter was a fashionista. She was very interested. And so we were kind of leafing through it. And I just turned a page and was like, well, there you go. There was a model styled to look like Marilyn Monroe. And I was like, wow, okay, interesting. We turned a few more pages, and then later on in the same magazine, there was a pop star all styled to look just like Marilyn Monroe. And, my thought was like, I don't know if I can say, I was like, damn, you know, wow, like these people just won't leave her alone. I mean, she's just everywhere. And I just sort of instantly thought, like, what would she think of this? Like, that she's still so popular and so part of our pop culture. And, I just started, my writer brain started working. And I was like, what if her spirit really was up there, like on her personal cloud looking down and seeing that she's still kind of everywhere with, so high profile, just makeup lines and clothing lines and art and to so many young actresses trying to look like her, and just that she's this sort of ideal Western cultural ideal of like glamour and beauty. And I just wondered what she would think of it. And then I took it a step farther and started to concoct a story of like, what would she think of it? And if she could come back, who would she visit? And wouldn't that be a fun story? And then I just kind of, what would happen? Why would she come back? And I was off. So I just kind of started writing and spent a lot of years just working on it and thinking about it and coming back to it. And so hopefully came up with a fun story that I like it anyway. So.
Yeah. Why do you think what in writing this book and doing your research and crafting the characters and putting the story together, did you come up with any answers to that question? Why is she everywhere? Why is she still so
Right.
relevant for us?
I think that, I mean, a lot of people, that's a really good question. And definitely one of the most fun parts of coming up with this book was, researching her life. And I read so many biographies and looked at so many photos and watched her movies, the ones that I'd seen multiple times, ones that I had never seen before, trying to kind of determine like, what is it about her that, I mean, there are a million beautiful blonde actresses. There were a bunch in her era too. And it's like, what is it about her that really grabbed people? And other than she, obviously the fact that she died very young and very tragically and mysteriously, who knows what that's all about, is something that keeps somebody in the public eye. That's just a known path, I think, for that. And but I really think that she was very arresting on screen. I just would watch her movies, and you just cannot take your eyes off her. She just absolutely glows. And I think it was just her. I think the Norma Jean, like her youth, she had a very kind of tragic childhood, but it's just that yearning and longing and work just kind of come through the glamour. And it's just, men love her, but women loved her too. And she just has this kind of innocence that she portrays that just is you just cannot ignore it at all. And she just takes over on the screen. So I think that's what it is. It's just that blend of innocence, yearning, and absolute gorgeous glamour that keeps people intoxicated by her. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's what I think.
Yeah. In writing this book, you had to kind of get into Marilyn's head so that you could allow Marilyn to then literally be in Lexa's head. But what gave you the most insight into her? Was it the movies or the biographies? Like what allowed you to sort of feel like you captured kind of her voice?
So here's the interesting thing, and this is like a nuance thing, is that I did not want to capture Marilyn, real Marilyn. Although I read biographies and I researched her as much
Hmm.
as is kind of
Mhm.
possible with all the conspiracy and mystery and the fact that it's like, her story is hers to tell. I even read a couple of pieces of work that she wrote. I listened to interviews and watched her perform. And I just feel like in trying to create her spirit as opposed to her, it gave me this extra palette, fantasy fiction palette to work with, where it's like I'm not trying to create Marilyn Monroe. I'm trying to create who I think her spirit would be after she's been in whatever purgatory, whatever, for over now 50, 60, 70 years, watching the world go by. And that's like a very different creature, although there are, sort of known aspects of behavior and character and appearance and things that I drew from. But I really wanted to make that very different. And also, even at one point in the book, she even says to Lexa, you know, I am who you expect me to be, like who you need me to be, kind of like right now. I am that entity, because I just felt the more I wrote about her, the more I felt very protective of the fact that, Marilyn Monroe was a person who lived and performed and died. And her story is her story, and people can say whatever they want, obviously, and they do, right? I mean, um, but I did not want to tell that story. I wanted to tell a different story and just give her like a different story. I needed her to have a different story in my head.
Yeah.
So I think that's the difference. It's like it's
Yeah.
a nuance, and maybe some people will be like, "This isn't Marilyn." It's like, no, it's not. It's her spirit. It's a different thing. So
Right.
uh,
Right. Well, and you just said like part of her being there is that she's there for someone else. So
yes.
can you tell us a little bit about Lexa and what she needed, why Marilyn needed to show up as she did for her?
I think that Lexa, so the story starts with her, getting into this play and just being absolutely freaked out. And that it's like I sort of have posited in the very beginning that it's her it's her having seen Marilyn, her connection to having seen the movie of Bus Stop and connecting with that image, just researching the play, not even thinking of her own role. And then when she sees she has the same role, that having that image in her head was so powerful that it sort of grabbed at Marilyn's spirit. And of course, there's a lot of different things in the book. I don't want to give too much away about how people thinking about somebody or something that's not necessarily there creates a web that can trap them a little bit or catch them a little bit. So that's another kind of thought. But so Lex, it's her own yearning to be, she wants to be different. She wants her life to start. I mean, I thought of a character that just at that transitional point of finishing high school, and she doesn't quite know what she wants to do. And she just feels like she wants to be different in some way. She doesn't really know how. And that kind of yearning I found very similar to a lot that I'd read about Marilyn to be wanting to be a movie star. She wanted so much to be something. And so I feel like that was the kind of character that I wanted to develop, that they would have this sort of bond of, wanting something that is almost, you can't even really name exactly what it is. And of course, when people want something, what they end up getting is often not what they thought it was going to be, right? Which
Right.
definitely happens in the story. So I wanted them to have that connection. And then just as I was writing about both of them over the years, I just really liked their friendship. I would just like the idea of female friendship. I'd read some books that really just sort of champion that concept of female friendship and how important that is. And I just wanted them to really be friends with each other. They both needed to have a real friend. They both needed someone to listen and care about their journey. And it's not just about Lexa. It's also Marilyn realizing maybe this is about me too. like I'm not sure, it's just this sort of discovering things as the story goes along. Um, so Lexa kind of, as I developed her, she needed to be somebody that needed to be, and I wanted her to be very opposite than a Marilyn, like not someone who's obsessed with glamour and being a star. She just wants to be in this play and finds herself in this position, but she has a lot of self-image issues. And it's kind of interesting because I wasn't really thinking of her as being like, a really big girl or something like that. I was thinking of her as just being not what her vision of beauty is.
Mm.
Like, I am not my friend who's this pretty little pixie girl, her best friend M, and she's just not that. She's a big girl. She's got a figure. She just, you know, and she's been teased in the past, but it's just when you don't like what you are, it doesn't really matter what that is. You just want it to be different. So
Right.
I wanted to kind of put her in the position of having to really dig deep and think like, how can I be the best me? I can't be someone else. How can I be the best me that I am? So anyway,
Right.
that was another thought. And I thought that, it'd be fun for Marilyn to play fairy godmother there too.
Right. Right.
A little bit.
Well, I do want to talk about that a bit because there there has been in the last, I don't know, few years to decade, I guess, more of a focus on body positivity, and there are sort of the generations of girls coming growing up, and boys too growing up, have a different perspective on self-image and self-confidence and than generations before them, I think. And that's a good thing. But in your mind, is it still as necessary? Or has enough work been done to get us where we need to be? Or are stories like this, still important? Do we still need to keep writing this for years to come? I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
I think that even with all the different views of especially female beauty, and seems like different outlets have been trying to include different forms of female beauty and different shapes and different, you know like everything out there. But I still feel like, I mean, I have my daughter, she's in her 20s now, but just looking at some of the social media that comes out, I still, and it's especially highlight with, the fact that you can change so much just on the screen. I feel like people's ideal of beauty is first of all, it's not even completely real anymore. In some
Right.
cases, we have no idea if this is real or not. Some of the images we're seeing, and I think people, especially young women who are still, I mean, are still being victimized, and
Yeah.
it's in the news, but not as much as it should be. I'm not going to go on that tangent, but it's like it's in the news, but it should be a lot more in the news. Um, that young women just are going to always need to be assured that they matter, and that who they are matters, and how they look, that their self comfort and self confidence matters. And there's no there's no magic trick that's going to make everybody feel good about themselves. And there's always going to be, young women who are seeing things online or seeing pick movies or whatever, and think, oh, I'm not that. I'm attractive, but I'm not that attractive, like that kind of attractive. And I feel like just being reassured that, you're enough. You just be the best you, like be the best you that you can be. You don't have to change everything, and all the accentuations that are being used, which are fine. I mean, a lot of makeup, I mean, makeup is fun, clothes are fun. I wish I'd spent more time dyeing my hair when I was a teen. I just didn't do it. But there's a lot of fun to be had with a lot of the clothes and makeup and haircuts and nails and stuff. It should be fun, though. It shouldn't be like I have to do this so that I can fit in some way. And um, no, I don't know. Just from what I've seen and some of the TV shows that are coming out, I think especially young women still need to be reassured that they're enough, and that they matter,
Yeah.
in terms of how they feel about themselves matters, and that they need to get comfortable with who they are and feel comfortable. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
It's a hard thing to do, I think, for for women, of people of all ages, right? Because
yeah.
that ideal, the image you are shown, is constantly changing. And it seems to change faster and faster, year over
Mhm.
year. There are adjustments made, and what was attractive 50 years ago, 25, is not necessarily what you're being shown today, and it won't be again,
Mhm.
you know, next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
I understand people being less than happy with the way they look if it never fully matches up with what they're shown, and it's a shame. So,
Well, and then especially if it's not even actually attainable because what they're being
right,
shown has been altered. And I see,
right,
some actresses who've said, don't alter me. Like I think I've seen, Zendaya, who I think is one of the most beautiful young women in, you know, pictures right now. And she has, I think I read a while ago, her complaining about a magazine, slimming her down. It's like, hey, that's not what I look like. Or Kate Winslet years ago. It's like, that's not what I look like. And it's disturbing to be shown that way. and to have somebody else decide, oh, this is what you are supposed to look like to
Right.
be palatable to our viewers. It's just
Yeah. Yeah. And,
really
and
crazy.
what do you think it is about Marilyn that we continually focus on her for better or worse? She sort of defined the idea of sexy for a long time.
Yeah.
Still probably does. What can we learn from her? Either something she did well, or perhaps the cautionary tale, what not to
Well,
do.
I think there's many things. I mean, certainly she worked really hard. You know, Norma Jean worked really hard to make Marilyn, and Marilyn was a incredible creation of her of her will and her handlers. You know, so I called them her handlers, who made her who she was. You know, with clothes and makeup and contouring. I mean, she was contouring before I even knew what that word was. I still don't really know what it is, but my daughter has mentioned it. But you know, and lighting and photography, and I feel like for her, she just wanted so much to belong to the world and be. You know, I think somehow. I mean, my personal thought, and I have no real basis for this, was that she thought that if she could be the biggest star, you know, if she could get there, like whatever the mountain was that she was moving toward, which was being a star, that somehow that was going to be an answer to whatever question she had. And then she was a star, and it wasn't the answer to every question that she had. And that's really hard to get to reach the goal and have it not be the answer. And I think she worked so hard and listened to advice. She was willing to do the work to make herself um, that beautiful in the idealized way of being beautiful. And somehow, even in all the artifice, she still maintained this personality that shone through, and it wasn't all kind of hard. I mean, she never really played like a hard. Actually, one of my favorite films of her is Niagara, where she kind of plays the villainess. But you know, I'm sorry, you still like her. You know, you still like her. You still feel for her. You know that she wants more, and I think people really relate to that. Somebody who worked that hard to get where she wanted to go, for the good or the bad. And you can take the cautionary tale that and the times, you know, the kinds of assistance that she would get, the kind of you know, whatever corporate film company greed that would just try to exploit, like, oh, let's keep making money off of this. And just the having worked that hard and feel like you're still not who you thought you were going to be, would be so hard and devastating. To feel like, gosh, you know, I and she wanted to be a good actress. She, you know, just in the later years of her life, she just worked really hard on her craft. She wanted to be I mean, she was a great actress, but she wanted to be more, a better actress, and working harder and harder to be better. And I mean, that's how I see it anyway. You know,
Yeah.
that people really respect that work ethic and desire, and willing to do the work and do what it takes to get where you're going to go.
Right.
And I think people can't help but respect that, even if you wouldn't want to follow that path.
Right. Right. Well, why choose Bus Stop? That's the play that they're putting on in Lexus High School. So why that play? Was it something about the play itself? Was it something about the role? Was it something about Marilyn's portrayal of the role that caught your attention? I'm curious how we
It
got
was
to
all
there.
those, yeah, it was all those things. I mean, it is a play, a great play. And I felt like, so that was a play that probably the school might do. And it's also a great movie. I really like the movie a lot. I think she's incredible in it. It's not like an easy movie for people to just be like, oh yeah, let's watch a Marilyn movie. It's like, that's not the go-to movie, but it was always one of my favorites because I really liked how, you know, it's really about, you know, the just themes of love are very important in that movie, even if they're a little bit dated in terms of how they manifest with the characters. And you know, about two kind of young people who really are very opposite, kind of learning enough about each other to decide to give each other a chance, even though they've gone through this bizarre uh, bus stop kidnapping scenario. I just really liked her in that movie. I think she's gorgeous and a little bit sad, but she just wants so much. So I just sort of felt like that character was going to be a great character for a high school drama workshop to try to do as a play. It would be manageable for this very small drama ensemble to put on. And just the role, I thought that would be the role that you'd see her. She's basically wearing a like a Vegas style showgirl outfit for almost the whole first part of the movie. And, it's just kind of unavoidable. And she's also out there. The way that character, Cherie, is also a really interesting character where she also is just full of yearning. She just wants so much to be a singer and to follow this path. So you've got these kind of three characters who all really are very full of yearning. So I thought that was going to be a good role for Lexa to have to play, even though she doesn't want to look like Cherie. It's like the essence of Cherie would speak to her eventually. Um, so that's why I picked that.
And the book has a fair bit of humor in it. So I'm curious
I hope so. Thank you.
When you were writing it, was it an intention to put the comedy into it, or were you finding that it was just bubbling to the surface without planning for it?
Probably because, of course, Some Like It Hot is one of my favorite movies of hers. She's not the lead, but I just like that kind of sort of screwball, that yeah, this would get crazy. She would be doing this. She wouldn't really, neither one of them would really know what they were doing in terms of like, oh, can I, like I'm in here, can I stay a little bit? And so, there would have to be some push and pull with this dynamic of having this entity inside of a person where you don't really, it's like she's young enough that she didn't really think about what it would be like and what it would mean to do this. And so of course it's going to get very wacky as things move along. And things start to come up where it's like, oh, didn't know that was going to happen, and neither one of them knows. I mean, this is not, like I think I say in somewhere in there, this is not an exact science. So there's a lot of surprises for both of them. Like, it's sort of like the train's going off the tracks. It's like, and they can't really know what actually is going to happen. So I was hoping that would be kind of, just raising the stakes of the story. Like, okay, this is going to get kind of crazy. And there were some scenes that just spoke to me that would be naturally have to happen. Like I was pretty sure that there's, I don't know, I don't want to give too much away, but the certain scenes that come up, I was pretty sure they would have to come up because it would just be too funny. And for her drama teacher, who's a huge film buff, to be sort of like, what is happening here with this character, with this kid? It's like, okay, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have encouraged her to stay in the play. She's doing some crazy things. And just there's a sort of a romantic sort of triangle. I wanted that to be unexpected, where you think one thing's going to happen and something else happens. I thought anyway. So over years, things definitely shifted around. It's like, oh, I thought that was going to happen. It's like, nope, this is going to happen instead. This is going to be, and maybe the humor kind of worked its way in. But I'm glad you said that. That's nice. I take that as a compliment. It was funny.
Well, and you've mentioned that you worked on this for a long time. What did you say? It was like 10 years? Is that?
Yeah. Yep. More than that. I started working on this novel in 2010, and I put it, I worked on it and then I put it aside. It's like I worked on it, I put it aside, I worked on it, and I always was having, for every version, I had readers and, critique partners, and they would ask questions, and then I just, every time I went back to it, I would have a little more knowledge about the characters and what was really going on, or what else was going on besides what I thought was going on. And I mean, even very recently, I literally writing the dedication of the book, I just wrote a essay about this, where a huge piece of why I actually wrote this book, my subconscious mind made me write this book, was like, oh, that's what was going on here. I really didn't know that, because I'll just be brief about it. But this book is also there are themes of like friendship and self-image and transformation, and there's also a grief narrative because I never really thought about this, but my niece Maggie, she was 22 and she died like the year before I started writing the book.
Really?
So,
Oh,
and I, was very sad, and I definitely was like heartbroken at the loss of her, and but I never thought that this book had anything to do with that. But I just had another loss more recently. Another tragic young person in my life died pretty tragically, and I started to research grief a little bit. And over the years, I kept saying, "Oh," people say, "Like, why are you writing about this?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Like, they're like, "Why are you writing about Marilyn Monroe? Like, why are you obsessed with her?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just want to give her a different story." And I just kept saying, "I just want to give her like a different story. I like thinking about her in a different way. I'm tired of all the tragedy, and I mean, I don't discount anything that happened to her in her real life. I just am tired of that being the narrative always." And I started researching kind of tools to process grief and realized that one of them is giving a lost loved one a different story, just writing a different ending, writing a different encounter, writing something else about them to give your brain a way to, I guess, relieve or process the grief. And I was like, oh, so I think that was a big thing for me. It was like, wow. So that's part of what I was doing, was writing about somebody, that like a way to kind of process my own feelings of grief was to write a story that was giving this other person another story. I think anyway. So I was like, but really, I was literally like, not even that long ago. It was probably just a few months ago. I was like, oh, so that's what was going on too. So you never stop learning about your your work, like what the deep dark secrets are. It's like, oh, okay. So anyway, and that it made a lot of things make sense to me. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So
right.
anyway,
And this was after it was done.
yeah, I
Right.
turned it in. I was writing the dedication, literally writing the dedication to the book. So you read the dedication, and it's like that was like a lightning strike moment where it's like, ah, so that's what this story was about, or one of the big things that this story was about.
Right.
Okay.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, you
Yeah,
never know.
yeah, yeah. You don't. I mean, you think you're just going to have the surprises maybe while you're writing it or whatever, but it is amazing to have them come after the fact
Yeah, the
with a
subconscious.
realization of what you've been doing all this time, right?
Yeah. I mean, or a big part. I mean, I think all of the other things are true as well, but this is like, wow, that's really there. That's a real thing. I just didn't know that that's kind of what I was doing. And
Right.
because I really felt for, I mean, I definitely feel for my characters in this story. I know it's like, maybe you'll ask me, like, what do I want my readers to take away from this story? And one of the things is that, I think they're going to be like, where the story's going. You can't not know where the story's going. It would be ridiculous for it to not go where it's going. um, and so I hope they'll be a little weepy at the end, but mostly I want them to think, oh, I went on this great ride with these incredible characters, and I got to spend time with, this wonderful young woman and this delicious spirit, and maybe I'll be more bold in my own life and want to get out of my own way and have less fear about like achieving my dreams and goals, and just be more open to what the universe might have for me.
Right.
And I hope people have fun, like spending time with my Marilyn, my version of Marilyn, my spirit Marilyn. Just like have a good time spending time with her, because
Yeah.
I really did. So
Yeah.
she became very real to me. I think that's happens when you work on something for a long period of time. It's and I went in and out. I mean, there were a lot of years where I didn't pick up this manuscript for like 2 or 3 years at a time, but I was always really happy to be back with them again.
Right.
So
Right. Well, now that they're gone, I mean, they're not in your head as prominently as they have been over the last
I
decade or more.
know, sad.
Um, I was going to say, is it sad? Do you miss them chattering away up there?
I do, but it is interesting to talk about them this way, because that's something I found just on this publishing. I had my first book come out, and I've spent this past year, it's almost been a year since Cat's Creek Summer came out, and I've spent this past year talking about that book a lot, and like not about like you know what it is to write the story. You figure that out over the years of actually writing the story, but it's then having to talk about it, like why did you write it and what does it mean and what are the themes and things like that that make you think about these things in a completely different way. So they're not in my head in the way of making story, but they're still in my head in terms of talking about them and like why did I pick that? Like why did I feel this need to write about Marilyn Monroe? Why did I feel this need to create a character that she could visit and have this relationship that is fictional, but to me, it's very real that these people had this relationship in my head. um, so, who knows?
Right, right.
But yeah. So I hope. I mean, I hope I'll be talking about this book for another, little while too. So
Right, right. Well, what is on the horizon for you? I mean, given that you're going to be busy promoting this book for a while,
yeah.
do you have a work in progress? Are there things, do you have a list of things you want to write? What comes next?
So I'm still really actively promoting Cats Creek Summer because there's been a lot of kind of attention around the book recently. And so I've been doing a lot of school visits and library talks and things like that. And I hope to be moving into that with doing things like that with Marilyn. So between the two, I feel my time is really taken up with the two. And I do have another work in progress, which is another book that has been revised a couple of times. And it's not really young adult. I almost want to call it new adult, but it's the characters are a little bit older. There's just not a school theme. Like they could be school age, but they're not in school, and it's I would call it it's two Greek myths, but it's an extrapolation of the myths as opposed to a retelling. It's definitely not a retelling. It's kind of like a what would happen next in this scenario. It's fantasy, but it's also very contemporary and basically set in Los Angeles. And so I hope to get back to that and work on that one, but it's not going to come out next year. That one's
So
not
we'll have to
nearly
wait a
as,
little bit. Okay. We can do
yeah,
that. We can wait. We've
yeah,
got other things to occupy us. Other
so
books
many
of yours
books.
we can read.
Oh, please do.
Well, if people want to learn more about you, watch for the new release,
hmm
learn about where you'll be talking and visiting and all that stuff, where can they go to find you and that information?
My wonderful website, www.mimatipper.com. I'm really working hard to keep my website up to date. And I have a whole, it's like a events and visits page that has lots of information about, events that are coming up and things that are, where places that I'll be speaking or doing the book launch and things like that. And that's really the best place. And also to contact me through the website too. And there are, in terms of buying the book, I always encourage people to support their local independent store. Any store can get a copy of this book, so they can just order it through Simon and Schuster. And and then on my website there's going to be tabs for bookshop.org and tabs for other places where you can buy the book. So hopefully, yeah, but I'm really pushing those independent bookstores. Like
Right.
it was
Right.
just Independent Bookstore Day, so hopefully people will go and order it. And I'm hoping a lot of bookstores just will be celebrating Marilyn's birthday and maybe add my book to the excuse me their table display of other Marilyn
Right.
books and
Right.
things. I
Well,
hope that's
because
my hope.
we should mention that, well, this will air after the release of
hmm
your book, but your release is timed with a very special day that relates to Marilyn. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, Marilyn Monroe's 100th birthday, June 1st, 2026. And I think that I'm hoping that a lot of local theaters are going to maybe show at least one or more of her films. I mean, I know for me, I would love to see any of her films on the big screen. I'm trying to create a couple of opportunities for people to see films like near me in Vermont. And I know if you're anywhere near Los Angeles, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, I think it's what it's called, has a huge Maryland exhibit opening in May, at the end of May, and there's going to be a ton of things going on. I wish I had a reason to be out there other than just showing up, but I have a lot to do here, so I can't really do that. But yeah, I just feel like I hope people will really, I'm personally having a birthday party for her. So anyway, I'm hoping people uh, will celebrate her birthday because that's a big one, 100 years.
Right.
Um,
Right. Well, let's hope they celebrate it by picking up a copy of your book.
yeah, that would be good too. Pick up a copy of my book. Right, I forgot that. Right, read my book. Get in touch with me. Tell me what you think. Anyway, I'd love that also.
Good, good. Well, Mima, I want to thank you very much for joining me today on the podcast. And I want to wish
Yeah.
you luck with channeling Marilyn and the work in progress, plus all the promotion that you're doing. Good luck with all of it.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
on everything you've accomplished, and best of luck with the rest of this writing journey.
Well, thank you so much, Stacey. I've enjoyed chatting with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast. It's really fun, and yeah, looking forward to hearing about it when it comes out on the Summer of Maryland. There we go.
Thank you for listening to The Bookshop at the End of the Internet. This podcast is all about helping readers discover new voices. This show brings you into conversation with authors from every corner of the writing world, and each of them has a story worth hearing. I'm your host, Stacey Horan, author of the Old City Mystery series and several standalone novels. Sharing conversations with fellow writers is one of my favorite parts of the creative life, and I'm thrilled to bring those conversations to you. Keep listening, keep exploring, and keep finding the stories that speak to you. There's always another treasure waiting here in the bookshop at the end of the internet.